Malhotra, and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top stories. Iranian media says 4 Revolutionary Guard fighters were killed and 3 injured in an Israeli strike on a training camp in Tabriz. The city in northwestern Iran has been targeted repeatedly since Israel's strikes began over a week ago. Home Minister Amit Shah says India won't rejoin the Indus Water Treaty. Water flowing to Pakistan will be used domestically, and after a terror attack in Kashmir, Delhi said that there is no reason to uphold a deal that helps Pakistan while putting Indians at risk. President Putin suggests Russian troops could advance on Sumy, calling all of Ukraine ours. In comments about a border buffer zone, Ukraine's foreign minister slams the remarks as proof Moscow isn't interested in peace, only more land and bloodshed. European ministers met Iran's deputy finance minister in Geneva, pushing Tehran to engage with the US on its nuclear program. But Iran refuses talks while Israeli strikes go on, with Trump set to decide on possible US action within 2 weeks. A female suicide bomber killed at least 20 anti-jihadist fighters in Borno state in an attack blamed on Boko Haram. Militia leaders tell AFP, and the blast struck near a fish market in Konduga late Friday night, leaving several people injured. Well, a senior Thai official says that Prime Minister Pitongran Shinawatra will neither resign nor dissolve parliament amid a deepening political crisis. The statement comes as criticism mounts over her handling of a border dispute with Cambodia. Pakistan says it will nominate President Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize for helping defuse tensions with India. Analysts say the move could sway Trump away from backing Israeli strikes in Iran, which Pakistan strongly condemns. Japan scraps its annual defense meeting with the US after the Trump administration demands Tokyo boost military spending. The Financial Times reports Secretaries Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth were set to host Japan's foreign and defense ministries on the 1st of July. All right, as Israel's war with Iran has entered its 9th day with no signs of slowing, the death toll is rising fast and diplomatic efforts are failing. Iran's health ministry says that Israeli strikes have now killed over 400 people and injured more than 3,000. Civilian deaths and nuclear scientists and military personnel are among the dead, is what we're learning. Meanwhile, according to the New York Times, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei has named 3 senior clerics as candidates to succeed him should he be killed, citing 3 Iranian officials familiar with the matter. In the event of the supreme leader dying, Iran's constitution requires the assembly of experts, an 88-member clerical body, to pick a successor. The process has only been used once since the 1979 Islamic Revolution, when Khamenei himself was elected in 1989. On the other hand, in Qom, Israeli jets killed Sayyid Izzadi, head of Iran's Quds Force Palestine Corps and Hamas coordinator. 2 more Iranian commanders, Behnam Shahriari and Aminpur Jodaki, were also killed. Here's what Effie Defrin, Israel's army spokesman, had to say about the targeted strike.
חיסול משמעותי נוסף הלילה במערב איראן. חיסלנו את שערירי. שערירי היה מפקד יחידת העברות אמצעי הלחימה של כוח קודס במשמרות המהפכה. תיעוד חיסולו משודר כעת על המסך. שערירי היה אמון על העברות אמצעי הלחימה מהמשטר האיראני לחיזבאללה ולשאר שלוחיו במזרח התיכון. איזדי ושערירי הם היו בחזית הפרויקט האיראני להעברת המלחמה לשטח ישראל. במבצע הזה העברנו את המלחמה לשטחם.
Well, Israel also hit Iran's Isfahan nuclear facility for the second time, striking 2 centrifuge sites. Foreign Minister Gideon Sar claims that Israel has delayed Iran's nuclear plans by up to 3 years. Iran denies trying to build a nuclear bomb, but the IAEA says it enriches uranium at 60%, a level no non-nuclear state uses. Meanwhile, 22 alleged Israeli spies have been arrested in Iran's Qom province, including a European national. An NGO says that the true number of arrests may exceed 200. In Istanbul, Iran's foreign minister joined 40 Islamic nations at an OIC summit, calling for pressure on Israel, but he ruled out any talks with the US unless airstrikes stop. President Trump warned Iran and has said that 2 weeks to stop or face possible US strikes using bunker buster bombs. France and EU leaders met Iran in Geneva, urging diplomacy, but Tehran won't engage while under attack. French President Macron said that he will step up negotiations to avoid a larger war. Inside Iran, unrest is growing, internet is restricted, roads to Tehran are jammed, and people are fleeing. The UN warns another Middle East refugee crisis may be imminent. Iran's retaliatory strikes have killed at least 25 in Israel. Over 450 Iranian missiles and drones have been launched, and Israeli officials have confirmed this. As both sides dig in, Israel's army chief has warned that they should prepare for a long, painful campaign. All right, Daniel Wagner, CEO of Country Risk Solutions, is joining us at this point in time. Daniel, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much. Well, there doesn't seem to be any kind of a de-escalation in terms of the attacks that are being perpetrated against each other by these two nations, as well as de-escalation in terms of diplomacy. Trump has issued a warning, but it doesn't seem that Iran is paying too much heed to it. What do we have on our hands when it comes to the stability of this region?
We have two sides that have dug in their heels, and it seems to me that with the Iranian side basically saying yesterday that they will not even enter into negotiations until and unless Israel stops their attacks, the prospects for diplomacy are zero at this moment. And with the clock ticking and Trump having put this artificial 2-week time frame into when he's going to make his final decision on whether to bomb Fordo and other sites, I don't see a way out of this thing. I don't understand the Iranian position at all. It doesn't make any sense. They are way outgunned. Their prospects of being victorious are nil. And yet they are, for whatever reason, saving face, negotiating tactic, whatever it might be, just pride, they're basically saying, yeah, we're not going to negotiate. Just carry on, do what you're doing, and we're ready for what's coming.
Daniel, what about the role of the Americans in this conflict? Donald Trump is extremely ambitious about getting a Nobel Peace Prize, but he seems to be having a rhetoric which is anti-Iran. But when it comes to other countries, including India and Pakistan conflict, the Rwanda and Congo conflict, he's pretty upbeat about that, and that would help him at least come into contention when it comes to the Nobel Peace Prize. But this is a bigger conflict. Do you think that the Americans should be playing a bigger role in de-escalation and not escalation?
Well, there's only so much of a role to be played if the parties won't want America to play it. And the Iranians don't want the Americans to play the role that they're offering to play. They're basically rejecting it. As for the Nobel Peace Prize prospects, well, there's so many conflicts in the world. Trump could, in theory, be a candidate for any one of them. I don't see the Israel-Iran conflict as being one that is really first in line for that potential prospect. Trump is commander-in-chief of the U.S. He's commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces. And his job, first and foremost, is to preserve the security of America and the American people. The number one issue in the world today in that regard is Iran. And Trump has been consistent for 20 or more years in saying what his views are on Iran. This is not something new. It's not even something that he started with Trump 1. This is something he's been pretty consistent about. So again, I don't see how America can make a difference here in the diplomatic process if Iran doesn't want them to.
Daniel, appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much for speaking with NewsX World. All right, moving on. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Russia has once again shown that they are not in the mood for a ceasefire and want to wage war. This comes after Russian President Vladimir Putin's remarks suggesting he did not rule out his forces taking control of Ukraine's northeastern city of Sumy as part of efforts to create a buffer zone along the border. He reiterated that other nations are not putting enough pressure on Russia. Meanwhile, drones and missiles launched by Russia overnight have damaged energy infrastructure in central Ukraine's Kremenchuk district in Poltava, injuring one. And in fact, the military, under an agreement struck in Turkey, Russia and Ukraine, have completed the second round of prisoner swaps, while both the sides have not confirmed the number of prisoners freed. The captured soldiers were wounded, ill, or under 25 years old. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has also accused Western firms of supplying Russia with machine tools used to make weapons. He said companies from Germany, the Czech Republic, South Korea, and Japan were among them, as well as one company supplying a small number of components from the United States. Ukraine has repeatedly signaled its allies have not done enough to sanction Russia and curb its supply chain since the beginning of the war, saying it has found Western components in drones and missiles sent by Moscow to them. Glenn Grant, ex-advisor to the Defense Minister of Ukraine, is joining us at this point in time. Mr. Grant, appreciate you being here with us. Well, Russia is now saying that it wants to occupy a northern part of Ukraine. This is obviously not a telltale sign of a country that wants any kind of a de-escalation or peace.
Oh, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, there is nothing that Russia has said at all about peace that actually has any bearing with reality. I mean, every time Putin says he wants peace, what follows that is a list of demands that are totally unacceptable to anybody, because they would just follow with capitulation, and there is no way that Ukraine can actually go down that path. So when he says that Ukraine is warmongering, you know, Ukraine is fighting for its survival, and it doesn't have much choice. Putin is taking land now inside Ukraine by Sumy, and although he says a buffer zone, that's complete nonsense. That's just for PR. His aim is to take Sumy, because that would be a serious prize for him. As so far they haven't taken really another major city apart from Donetsk at the beginning.
What do you think the Americans are going to do at this point in time? You know, there were a lot of tall statements made by Donald Trump when he assumed office that he's going to see this war end. Do you think that all of that was just plain rhetoric and electioneering and nothing else, and Donald Trump is cozily, in fact, supporting Vladimir Putin at a lot of fronts? In fact, he went to the G7 and said that they shouldn't have kicked Russia out.
Yeah, well, you've made good points there. I mean, I think it's more than just rhetoric. I think it's delay. The aim is from Trump is to convince Ukraine that there might be support on the horizon, but then not give it. I will add that Biden was exactly the same. So we're in a difficult position now in Ukraine because they're actually fast beginning to realize that as European supplies get less and less, that they're actually on their own more and more. And there's a lot of discussion in the social media in Ukraine about this, and people saying we actually have to get serious now about fighting and stop waiting for others to help us, especially US.
All right. Appreciate you joining us and giving your time and giving us those important perspectives. Breaking news coming in. Turkey's Erdogan has spoken to Iran's foreign minister. He has said that Turkey is ready to be a facilitator, and direct talks are needed between US and Iranian officials as soon as possible to pave way for diplomacy. And as per the Turkish presidency, Erdogan has also said that resumption of negotiations is only a solution to nuclear disputes. This comes amidst the ongoing escalating war between Iran and Israel. All right, a Palestinian graduate from Columbia University, Mahmoud Khalil, is out on bail after spending over 3 months in US detention. A federal judge ruled he is not a threat or a flight risk and ordered his release while immigration proceedings continue. Khalil was a leading figure in pro-Palestinian protests at the Columbia University. His March arrest sparked outrage, with demonstrations in New York and Washington. The Trump administration had moved to deport him, arguing his activism undermined US foreign policy. They later claimed he withheld information while applying for permanent residency. Judge Michael Fabiers questioned that justification, calling the government's actions highly unusual and possibly unconstitutional. Khalil graduated while in detention and his wife received his diploma. He missed the birth of his son during this time in custody. The White House insisted that the detention was legal and plans to appeal the decision. They maintained his presence could harm US foreign policy interests, and Khalil is now home barred from international travel but free to advocate in Washington. He thanked supporters and said he's relieved to be reunited with his family. And after being released from the prison, let's listen in to what he had to say.
Trump and his administration, they chose the wrong person for this. That doesn't mean that there is a right person for this. There is no right person who should be detained for actually protesting a genocide, for protesting their university, Columbia University, that is investing in the genocide of the Palestinian people.
Mr. Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, is joining us from Washington, D.C. at this point in time. Mr. Vickery, it's great having you here. Well, the judge in this case has said that this is obviously unconstitutional. It is definitely illegal. And why the government acted in such a way is perhaps a mystery to this judge as well. What do you make of this bizarre detention and the fact that just protesting and your right to express and solicit your opinion in public was never illegal in the United States?
Well, thanks very much for having me. I think you've put your finger right on the key issue, and the key issue is the freedom of speech, the freedom of thought, the right to assemble, all of those kinds of freedoms which are in the United States Constitution. The Trump administration and President Trump himself has repeatedly attacked our form of government in the United States. The separation of powers, the First Amendment, the rights to due process. And this is a pattern which is being extended to the question of immigration and visas, and not just as a way in which to regulate immigration to the United States, but as a tool to suppress free speech in the U.S. So that's the context in which this must be understood. In Mr. Khalil's situation, it's particularly egregious because he holds a green card, which means he is lawfully admitted to the United States for the purpose of becoming a citizen. He is married to a U.S. citizen, and of course his son, born in the United States, is a U.S. citizen. So there is a repeated standing up by the judicial branch of the United States government to this kind of unlawful activity. The question is, of course, whether or not the standing up, which is taking place at a district court level, will be upheld when it gets to appeal into the Supreme Court. Their appointees by President Trump have much more sway, and the real question for the United States is, will the rule of law hold here? It is one thing to say we must build peace and prosperity internationally, which is the hallmark of a great democracy, but at the same time be trying to use various levers to change the rule of law in the United States. So it's a difficult situation here, but it is of a pattern. The use of troops in terms of enforcement of immigration, the whole question of whether or not you have a right to habeas corpus, which is being able to bring a defendant before the court. So it is time for great democracies across the spectrum to stand up and try to ameliorate what President Trump is obviously doing to enhance a presidential rule by decree form of government.
Mr. Vickery, Donald Trump's approval ratings have slipped another 6 points. He was elected on two conditions. One is immigration, of course, and the second was the economy. But, the tariffs which have been thrown at the world have created economic instability. And secondly, law-abiding citizens are being arrested and cruelty is being enforced for expressing yourself on the streets of the United States. Do you think that this is perhaps not going to cease, and Donald Trump's approval ratings are going to dip further, and the people who voted for him are definitely in for more disappointment?
Well, I certainly think that that's a very, very strong possibility. We have two statewide elections taking place, one in Virginia, one in New Jersey this year, which will be a harbinger, I believe, of what will happen at the midterms. But the problem here is that President Trump does not have in mind an adherence to the constitutional values which have served this country well and the world well for over 250 years. He wants to change that. He wants to change it to a presidential rule by decree, authoritarian approach. So it's not the case that public opinion is going to sway him. The one saving grace is that President Trump has been known to change with the winds. You know, the taco meme of Trump always chickens out on tariffs is shown somewhat in some of these other approaches to international affairs in Iran and so forth. But make no mistake about it that the overall thrust here is to change the form of government, to change our constitutional rights here. And as I said, great democracies, whether they be India, Europe, Japan, need to stand up and say this is not in accordance with basic human rights and basic tenets of democracy. Democracy is not one man, one vote, one time. It is rule of law, it is human rights, it's the right to be able to protest, to assemble, and it is outrageous, and the judge in this case has indicated for the Trump administration to try to use visas and immigration against what is otherwise lawfully and constitutionally protected free speech.
Mr. Vickery, always a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you so much. Breaking news coming in. At least 8 people are dead following an accident involving a hot air balloon in Brazil's southern region of Santa Catarina, according to the local governor. Reports suggest that rescue teams were searching for other people, as preliminary information indicated there were 22 people on board.